Hi and welcome to DIY Ideas. Today I'm going to show you how you can make this wonderful heart cut on your top or t-shirt. And this also works for the front as well. So here is everything we're going to need for today, and you can see a couple of things here. So as always, fabric scissors, pins, my hand gauge, then fabric chalk and fabric marker so that we can mark on our fabric and later wash it out. Pencil for our pattern. Today we're doing the heart shape as I already said, and then of course we need some thread in the matching color to our fabric. So our fabric for today is the shirt that we're going to be doing. The only thing you need to have is a closed back or front that you can do your heart on. So you can see here this is kind of a crop top shape, and I decided to do the heart on the back. Of course, you can do it in the front if you'd like as well. And if you want to learn how you can make the crop top yourself, then you can check out a video I will post here. That's where I'm going to show you the whole thing from scratch. So we're also going to need a little bit of fabric that's a little bit larger than the heart itself, since we want a base that's going to keep the heart stable. And you need a little bit more for the stitches as always, and you can see here my fabric is the same thing as the top, but you can also do something else as long as it's similarly stretchy. So the stretchiness should be the same between the two types of fabric so that it doesn't stretch weirdly when you wear it. This here is the bias tape that we're going to be using to keep the shape in an even better form. So first we need to deal with the pattern. So you see here I prepped my heart already, the size and the shape of it. You can of course change it up according to your piece of clothing and your preferences. So here you see that I kind of adjusted this to the size of my shirt and the back section, so I'm not making it too wide. I still have a little bit of room here. And now we just need to decide where we want our heart to be. So that's completely up to you. I like it symmetrical, so I'm going to keep it somewhere in the middle, but you can of course even do an asymmetrical design. So just make sure you're satisfied with where it is. So now that we've decided where we want our heart to be on the shirt, we can work on the fabric piece that we have here. So as I said, it's just important that it's a little bit larger than the heart so that we have room for the stitches. And then we're gonna kind of use this to make the edges of the heart. So basically just go all around the heart once again with the fabric and make it more stable. And that's what we're gonna do on the top later as well. So if you've done the top yourself, then I highly recommend you take the same fabric for the heart as well. That works best, or take something equally stretchy. So now we're gonna pin everything to keep it in place, and I'm doing this on the back of the fabric, so the back side, because I want to do the shape here and then have it look pretty on the other side. So now we're not going to do any additional space for the stitches, so I'm just going to go around this pattern and basically follow the line and mark with my fabric marker. So we don't need anything else. The fabric itself is going to work as room for the stitches, but we need the mark exactly where the heart is so that the shape stays the same. So I'm just basically going to go around here, around 1 centimeter away from the piece of paper. So now in the next step, we're going to put this piece of fabric on top of our shirt. So now we need to decide where our, or have to look where our position was so that we're satisfied with where the heart is. And yeah, I think it's really lovely when you can kind of see the shoulder blades. So that's why I'm doing it so high up. Of course, you can do it lower if you prefer that. So now you can, of course, pin this together, try it on, and then see if you like the position of the heart. I think that's the best option if you're a little bit unsure about where you want it to be. So now that you've done that, we can continue with the next step. And what I'm gonna do is find the midline here. So basically I folded it together and I ironed over it a little bit. That way I have this midline here. I don't know if you can see it that well on camera, but that's where the heart goes, and I want the middle of the heart exactly where this line is. So I'm gonna look at the top and the bottom of the middle section of the heart and align that with the fold. Another important tip is just to pin the back section and not the front. So when I turn it like this, then you can see that the front section is completely free. We don't want to stitch that part up. So now you see here the heart is pinned together. It's secured on there, so we can move on to the next step. As I said, just make sure you don't catch the front of the fabric. So now what we're going to do is basically go around with our sewing machine, do a stitch around the line that we see, and later cut it out. So I don't know if you can see it well, but I have a stitch going all around the heart. And I also fixed this little edge here. It wasn't completely straight, or not the way I wanted it to. So I just made sure that everything looks nice. And it's gonna look nice even when we fold it inwards when we're done with the shirt. You'll see what I mean in a second. So now what we need is to cut out the heart. So I'm gonna not damage the stitch, but go as close to the stitch as I possibly can. So just make sure that you don't damage the stitch, because that way we would need to do the stitch all over again. And now that we've done this, this is what it looks like. And we can carefully fix this section. So that's the very tip of the heart, because when we turn it inside out later, we do want it to have a pointy end like this. And for that, we can't have the excess fabric here. But again, make sure not to damage the stitch you just did. And now what we can do is kind of fold this inwards, and you're already gonna get the effect that we want in the end, and that's a nice seam with almost no effort. So that's what our heart is gonna look like in the end. Then we're gonna iron over this, and we're gonna stitch it up so that it looks nice too. So as you just saw, what I did is turned the fabric inside out, aligned everything nicely, ironed over it to keep it in place, and that's what you see here. Also, what I did here on the bottom is cut off a little triangle shaped hole, so to speak. So that's gonna make this little section look a lot better in the end, and it's not gonna be wrinkling the fabric, since we do need to change the direction of the stitch when we get to that point when we stitch it up again. So this is a very small step, but I highly recommend it as it does make a difference. So then we're gonna turn it inside out. We're gonna pin it together again to keep the stitch on the edge here. And then we're gonna take a little bit of distance away from the edge, and we're gonna do a stitch again. So now that I've done the extra stitch that I wanted to do, I shortened or cut off the excess fabric on the inside so you can see what this looks like now. And when I turn it inside out, or actually the right way around, you can see what it looks like. And I think it looks really nice, really clean. And the shape is exactly the way I wanted it to be. So my shirt is designed that way that it's kind of skin tight. And if you have something similar, make sure your heart isn't stretching out too much when you wear it. So yeah, if you have something that's also really tight, make sure that you have a lot of fabric on the sides and also the extra stitch that we did here. So that helps with that as well. That keeps the heart in shape. Optionally, you could have done an extra zigzag stitch on the inside here to make sure that everything stays nice and doesn't fray. Also, I'll show you the alternative way of doing this. So I have here some bias tape, and you can find this in pretty much any supermarket. So there is a little bit of a difference, but you can do the same thing with the bias tape. So what we would do differently is basically leave out these steps with the stitches here with the doubled layer of fabric, and instead we would use the same pattern here, and we would cut the heart out, and then the open edge would be done with the bias tape. So I would basically go around like this. Let me see if I can kind of fold it so that you can imagine what it looks like. So basically go around like this. We would of course iron over this so that it stays folded, and then we would just slowly and patiently go around and then also pin nicely. So pins are really important here, and then we would do a stitch there to keep it all in place. So in that case, you might have some practice with round stitches, so it might be a little bit more tricky than with the fabric, but it's definitely doable. And if you have some bias tape that's in matching color or style to your top, I think it can look really, really neat as well. So that's what I also wanted to show you as an alternative, whichever way you decide to do it. So here is the finished project, and I hope you enjoyed today. If you did, feel free to let me know by shooting a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell if you'd like to stay notified every time we post something new. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in my next project. Stay tuned for that. And until then, have a wonderful day. Bye!